In this little bag are the first plants I have ever ordered off of Etsy. Hey everyone, I'm Erin the Impatient Gardener. I live and garden here in zone 6A, southeastern Wisconsin. We are questionable on the zones, but I'm trying to just say 6A because the fact is we are labeled as a 6A. So for years I have cautioned people from buying plants on Etsy and Amazon unless it's a company that you recognize, or other places, because I just feel like there's a lot of scams out there. If you look around, you will see that there are people advertising hosta seeds that will become purple hostas. Well, first of all, hostas, generally speaking, are very, very, very slow to grow from seed. This is why they're very easy to grow from division, which is why they're typically grown from division. There's roses that bloom in 14 different rainbow colors. This is all Photoshop junk. This is all lies, and there is a lot of it out there. So I have always really counseled people, like, buy from reputable sources and be really cautious when you go away from those. I often recommend that if people are shopping at new online companies, that you go to Dave's Garden, davesgarden.com. You look for the Garden Watchdog. There, people have left reviews for online, or any, I guess, plant companies. So you can check there, although I will say it doesn't seem like it's being used as much as it used to be. So, the database is not as up to date as it should be. But if you go there and you see every review is negative, stay away from that company. So I ended up down a rabbit hole, and I did buy from Etsy. In fact, this is $80 worth of plants in here. And the plant that got me there is a Himalayan Jack-in-the-Pulpit called Silver Center. So I have native Jack-in-the-Pulpits that grow all over this garden. They just pop up. They're happy here, and they're beautiful. But I saw this Silver Center plant, actually. Again, I have to say there's so many plants in this garden that have been influenced by one particular part of this country, which is the Philadelphia area, which I have now been to twice for garden tours. And there are really amazing plants people in Philadelphia, so you tend to find very interesting plants in home gardens there. And this one I noticed with a group of people, and sometimes there's just a plant that catches everybody's eye. I was not alone in loving this plant, and this is the first time I saw this plant. Kind of made a mental note about it, but didn't think much of it. Kind of figured we wouldn't be able to grow it here. And then I saw it in a garden tour on YouTube, and I wish I could remember what garden tour it was. It may have been a Garden Gate garden tour, but it was from a pretty cool zone. And they kept mentioning, like I want to say, like even maybe like a zone 4 or something, and they kept mentioning that it was very hardy. And I thought, well, now wait a second, let's look into that. So in my search, I came across one Etsy seller, and I will link to it, by the way, below. And this person really seemed to know what they were talking about. They didn't seem to be selling a bill of goods. They were very upfront about, like, this is what you can expect from this plant. This is how you grow them. This is really important. So I thought, okay, this guy is probably the real deal. Also, kind of a specialist. And I tend to think that people who sort of specialize in one type of plant probably are the real deal. In any case, everything added up for me, and I felt good about it. So I ordered 3 bulbs. These are tiny little bulbs. They came a while ago, actually. But I've been keeping them in cold, dark storage because it's really important that you don't plant these out until... Did I only buy... Oh, no, I did buy 3. It's really important that you don't plant these out until it's warm enough. Now, I do see that 2 of them have sprouted, but... This is the biggest one. This was $47, I think. And this one is mature enough that it should be female. So this is one of those plants that starts out as all male, and then as it ages, it becomes female. There are other plants like this that can do this. We talked about one earlier this year, which is ginkgo. They don't all do that, but they can. And then I bought 2 smaller ones. Now, these little guys are going to be male because they're young. And I'm going to do 3 things in planting those because I really, really, really want this to work. This one goes in a very special spot. This is the one that I'm most worried about. The other 2 are going to go nearby. If everything goes well and these grow well, and by the way, these are really nice firm bulbs. They were packaged so nicely, like super high marks for this seller. If everything goes well with these bulbs, these guys should fertilize this guy, and we should get seeds. And apparently they are not difficult to grow from seed. And we should get some proliferation of this, because this is one of those plants that I can see wanting all over my garden. So I've sort of been saving these for a little bit of this new area that we expanded, and I talked about this in a few other videos, but we mostly expanded this to change our lighting situation, and then I changed this edge of this bed. So everything I've read about this plant says that it wants about a half a day of sun, which is about where it's going to get here. I would say if you're farther south, I would guess that you would want a little bit less sun than that, because that's typically how it works. They also want to be planted in moist but well-draining soil. How often do we hear that? I think there isn't a plant on earth that doesn't want moist, well-draining soil. And about 4 inches deep. Now the thing with this was the seller sent really explicit instructions, but I had also read this in other places. You don't want to plant this until the soil is warm, because they are quite prone to rotting out if the soil is cold and wet. So I have put the first one right here. So as you can see, I put this stake. This is actually a dead branch that I cut up right next to it, so that I know that plant is right here, because I don't want me to do anything, mostly me, to do anything stupid and stick another plant right there. So these are going to grow, I think, about 30 inches tall, and they're just gorgeous. So now I need to plant these other two, and I don't want to get too far away from it, but I also want to try some different areas. I want to make sure that one of these works. I'm sort of, if it doesn't like that spot, maybe it'll like another spot. So I think what we're going to do is put one right here on this corner here. So this will be shadier here, obviously. So we have sort of a smallish hosta epimedium here. I'm going to put this guy right here. Now this will get morning sun here. Another little stake to mark the spot. And last but not least, I think I'm going to put one kind of up here. This should be another. We actually have a nice little triangle of them too, so if they all work, it'll pull it all together. I'm going to stick this guy right here. Driveway. Okay, it's about the easiest planting job you could ever ask for. And that's it. There we go. So there's another, I think, really interesting plant that I'm putting in the garden. I hope those do really well. I did look around to buy actual plants. A lot of places list that they have them, but weren't selling them. It really sounded to me like a really good way to grow them is just from the bulbs. So I will cross my fingers that everything works well and update you. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, so you can see what the future of these hold. It would be very cool if all three of them did really well. But we'll see. It is a very cool plant, and I really hope I get to have it in my garden. And it'll be a good test to see whether, buying from at least some places on Etsy is a good call. If you have purchased plants on Etsy before, share your experience down below. Good and bad. I'd love to hear it. All right, have a great day in your garden. See you soon. Bye-bye.